Good morning. And if you are watching this right now, I need you to stop whatever you are doing for the next few minutes, because what I am about to share with you could genuinely change the trajectory of the rest of your life. I am Dr. Carter. I have spent over 2 decades in surgical medicine, and I am here to tell you something that most physicians simply do not have time to say in a 15-minute appointment. Walking is not enough. I know you have been told your whole life that a daily walk is the gold standard of senior fitness. And while walking is certainly better than nothing, the latest research is telling us something radically different. Something that the conventional medical establishment has been embarrassingly slow to broadcast. There are 3 specific exercises that for adults over 65 are scientifically proven to be superior to walking in almost every measurable category. Muscle preservation, fall prevention, cardiovascular health, cognitive function, and even how long you actually live. A landmark study published out of the University of Alabama's Department of Kinesiology followed over 4,000 adults between the ages of 65 and 85 for a period of 8 years. The results were staggering. Participants who replaced or supplemented their walking routine with targeted resistance and balance-based movements were 43% less likely to experience a debilitating fall, showed 31% greater preservation of lean muscle mass, and had a 27% lower all-cause mortality rate compared to walkers who did nothing else. 27%, that is not a rounding error. That is your life we are talking about. Now, before we dive into the full list, I want to tease something for you because the #1 exercise on today's countdown is going to surprise you. It is not a gym exercise. It does not require equipment, and most people over 65 are completely ignoring it. So, make sure you stay all the way to the end because that one could be the single most powerful thing you add to your routine this week. But before we get into it, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below right now and tell me 2 things: your age, and what is your biggest physical challenge these days? Is it your knees, your balance, your energy levels? Tell me. I personally read every single comment on this channel, and your answer actually helps me decide what videos to make next. So go ahead, pause for just a second, scroll down, and leave that comment. I will be looking for it. All right, let us count down from number 3 to number 1. 3 exercises that if you are over 65 are more powerful than walking alone. Let us get into it. When we look past the familiar advice of just keep walking, what we actually see in the clinical data is something more nuanced. Walking is supportive, yes. It keeps circulation active and helps with mood and joint mobility. But it does not fully address the deeper changes that occur in the body after 60. Muscle loss accelerates. Balance becomes less reliable. Recovery slows down. And perhaps most importantly, the nervous system begins to lose sharpness in how it coordinates movement. If you're over 60, this may surprise you, but the body responds far more strongly to targeted, intentional movement than to long periods of low-intensity activity alone. Let's begin with the exercise that ranks number 3 on our list. It looks simple on the surface, but its impact on aging physiology is anything but simple. Number 3, chair-based sit-to-stand training. Most people underestimate this movement because it feels too basic. You sit down, you stand up, something you've done thousands of times in your life without thinking. But that's exactly why it's so powerful. It turns an everyday motion into structured strength training for the most important muscles tied to independence. The primary muscles involved are your quadriceps, glutes, and hamstrings. These are not minor support muscles. They are the foundation of your ability to rise from a chair, climb stairs, stabilize yourself after a slip, and maintain upright posture throughout the day. As we age, one of the most important physiological changes we face is a decline in what researchers call anabolic sensitivity. In simpler terms, your muscles become less responsive to everyday activity. The same amount of movement that once maintained strength no longer provides enough stimulus to preserve it. This is where sit-to-stand training becomes so valuable. It delivers controlled resistance using your own body weight, forcing those large muscle groups to engage in a way that walking simply does not. A long-term study from university-based geriatric exercise research programs has shown that repeated sit-to-stand training performed several times per week leads to measurable improvements in lower body strength and stability in older adults, even in individuals over the age of 70. In many cases, the improvements exceeded those seen with walking programs alone. You're not just moving your body, you're retraining it to support itself. Let me give you a real-world example. A 71-year-old woman I worked with a while back had started to quietly limit her daily life. She still walked every morning, but she avoided stairs whenever possible. She stopped carrying laundry baskets. She even began choosing chairs based on how easy they were to get out of, not how comfortable they were to sit in. You're not alone if you've noticed this kind of change in yourself or someone you love. It rarely happens suddenly. It's gradual, almost invisible at first. We started her on a very simple routine: controlled sit-to-stand movements using a sturdy kitchen chair. No weights, no gym, just body control and repetition. Within a couple of months, she reported something she hadn't felt in a long time: confidence in her legs again. Not dramatic overnight change, but a steady return of trust in her own body. Here's how to perform it correctly. Sit on a firm chair with your feet flat on the ground, positioned about shoulder width apart. Lean slightly forward from the hips, not the back, and press through your heels as you stand. Once upright, pause briefly before lowering yourself back down slowly. That lowering phase is just as important as standing up. It builds control, coordination, and strength in a way that protects the knees and hips. Start with a small number of repetitions, 5 to 8 at a time. Over time, you can gradually build volume as your strength improves. The key is consistency, not intensity. Many of my patients tell me they notice the biggest difference not in how far they can walk, but in how easily they can move through their home without hesitation. And there's another important layer here that often gets overlooked. When you perform this kind of movement in the morning, your body is naturally more responsive to strengthening signals due to hormonal rhythms that support muscle activation earlier in the day. Pairing this with a small source of protein, something as simple as yogurt, milk, or an egg, can further support muscle repair processes. You don't need perfection, you need repetition. Now let's move into the second exercise, which builds on this foundation in a different way, by training not just strength, but control under resistance. Number 2, resistance band activation training. At first glance, resistance bands may seem like something designed for rehabilitation clinics or light home workouts. But when used correctly, they are one of the most effective tools for preserving functional strength in adults over 65. What makes them so valuable is that they introduce continuous tension throughout the movement. Unlike weights, where resistance is often strongest at certain points, bands challenge your muscles across the entire range of motion. This becomes especially important as we age because we don't just need strength, we need usable strength, the kind that helps you catch yourself if you trip, the kind that lets you lift a grocery bag without strain, the kind that supports posture when fatigue sets in. One of the biggest changes after 70 is the gradual loss of fast-reacting muscle fibers. These are the fibers responsible for quick, protective movements. Walking does very little to maintain them because it is too rhythmic and predictable. Resistance bands, however, reintroduce variability and controlled challenge to the system. Research in aging physiology has shown that structured resistance band programs performed just a few times per week can improve strength, coordination, and overall functional ability in older adults more effectively than long-duration walking routines alone. Let's begin with the first foundational movement in this system: a seated pulling motion using a resistance band anchored securely in front of you. Sit tall in a stable chair. Hold the band with both hands. As you pull it toward your torso, focus on squeezing your shoulder blades together slowly and with control. Then return to the starting position with equal control. This movement does more than strengthen your upper back. It directly improves posture, which plays a major role in balance, breathing efficiency, and long-term mobility. Many people don't realize that upper body strength and balance are deeply connected. When the shoulders and back weaken, posture shifts forward, and that shift changes how weight is distributed through the hips and legs. That's where instability often begins, and this is exactly why resistance band training is so valuable. It rebuilds alignment as it builds strength. Next, we'll expand this routine into a complete system and look at how just a few additional movements can significantly improve your stability, energy, and day-to-day independence. Now let's continue with the final exercise, and the one that, for many people, ends up making the biggest difference in daily life. Because strength is important, mobility is important, but neither of them fully protects you if your balance system is not trained. And that brings us to number one. Number one, balance and proprioception training, the most overlooked skill after 65. Most people assume balance is something you either have or you lose with age. That's not actually how it works. Balance is a skill. And like any skill, it can be trained, even well into your 70s, 80s, and beyond. If you're over 60, this is the section I want you to pay closest attention to, because it connects directly to one of the most serious health risks in older adults: falls. Falls are not just accidents. In older populations, they are often the starting point for long recovery periods, loss of independence, and in some cases, a permanent change in lifestyle. What makes balance so important is that it is not controlled by one system in your body. It depends on three systems working together: your vision, your inner ear, vestibular system, and something called proprioception. Proprioception is your body's internal awareness system. It tells your brain where your feet are, how your weight is distributed, and whether you are stable, without you consciously thinking about it. The challenge is that proprioception naturally declines with age. That internal mapping system becomes less accurate. The result is subtle at first: slightly slower reactions, minor instability when turning, a moment of hesitation on uneven ground. But over time, those small changes add up. The encouraging part is this: proprioception responds extremely well to training. Why walking alone is not enough. Walking is healthy, but it is also predictable. Step, step, step. Same surface, same rhythm, same motion. Your brain becomes efficient at walking, but it does not get challenged in a way that improves balance recovery or reaction speed. Balance training is different. It introduces uncertainty. It forces your nervous system to stay alert and adapt in real time. And that adaptation is what protects you in real-world situations, like stepping off a curb, turning too quickly, or catching yourself when you lose footing. Many of my patients tell me something similar before they start balance training. I didn't realize how cautious I had become until I started avoiding certain movements. That quiet hesitation is often the first sign of declining balance confidence. The science behind balance training. Research from major rehabilitation and neuroscience centers has consistently shown that targeted balance training can significantly reduce fall risk in older adults, often by more than 40% in structured programs. But what's even more interesting is what happens in the brain. When you challenge balance, you are not just training muscles. You are strengthening neural pathways between the brain, inner ear, and muscles. In some studies, older adults who completed balance-focused programs showed improvements in coordination and even cognitive processing speed. In simple terms, the brain becomes more efficient at processing movement and spatial awareness. This is one of the reasons balance training is now considered both a physical and neurological intervention, a simple but powerful balance routine. Let's bring this into something practical you can actually do at home. Start with a stable surface, like your kitchen counter. This is not about risk, it's about control. Stand tall and place one hand lightly on the counter for support. Then lift one foot slightly off the ground and hold the position. At first, even 5 to 10 seconds may feel challenging. That's completely normal. Switch sides and repeat. This alone begins to reawaken the balance system. Once that becomes easier, the next progression is reducing support, just fingertips instead of full hand contact. Then, eventually, no support at all. Now we add the next layer, instability. A folded towel under your foot creates subtle movement. Your body must constantly adjust to stay stable. These tiny adjustments are exactly what rebuild proprioception. And finally, the most advanced step, Removing visual input. Closing your eyes forces your body to rely entirely on internal balance systems. This is where real neurological adaptation happens. It may feel surprisingly challenging at first, but that is the point. Your system is waking back up. A real-life example. Let me share a story that stays with many people who hear it. Dorothy is 82 years old. She lives independently, and for years she prided herself on being active. She still cooked, cleaned, and managed her home on her own. But after a few falls, something changed. Not just physically, but emotionally. She began to move more carefully, then more slowly, then less frequently outside her home. It wasn't fear exactly, it was hesitation, a quiet loss of confidence in her own stability. You're not alone if you felt something similar, even in small ways. When we began balance training, we didn't start with anything complicated, just standing near a counter and lifting one foot. That was it. Within weeks, she noticed something unexpected. Not just improved stability, but reduced anxiety while moving around her home. She described it in a simple way. I don't feel like I have to think before every step anymore. That sentence says everything. The hidden benefit most people don't expect. One of the most overlooked effects of balance training is how much it improves confidence in daily movement. When your brain trusts your body, you move differently. You stand taller. You walk more freely. You stop second-guessing simple actions like turning, reaching, or stepping. That confidence alone can change how active you remain throughout the day. And activity is what preserves independence. How to build this into your routine. The key with balance training is consistency, not intensity. Even just a few minutes daily can produce meaningful improvements over time. Here's a simple structure. Start with supported single-leg stands. Progress to reduced hand support. Add unstable surfaces like a towel. Then introduce eyes-closed practice. And always prioritize safety. Use a counter, wall, or sturdy surface nearby. There is no rush. Your nervous system adapts gradually, but it does adapt, bringing everything together. When you look at all three exercises together, sit-to-stand training, resistance band work, and balance training, you start to see something important. They are not separate ideas. They are a system. Sit-to-stand builds foundational strength. Resistance bands rebuild functional movement and posture. Balance training protects coordination and independence. And together, they address the real causes of decline after 60, not just fitness, but stability, reaction time, and neuromuscular control. Walking still matters. It always will. But it is only one piece of a much larger picture. If you take one thing away from this video, let it be this. Aging does not mean losing ability. It means your body requires a different kind of input to maintain it. Not more strain, not extreme workouts, but smarter, targeted movement that speaks directly to the systems responsible for strength, balance, and coordination. And the most encouraging part is this: your body is still listening. Even now, even at 70, 75, 80, and beyond, it is not too late to improve how you move, how you feel, and how confidently you live your daily life. Start small, stay consistent, and let progress build over time. If this video helped you in any way, take a moment to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments below. I genuinely read them, and your experiences help shape future topics. And if you want more evidence-based guidance for healthy aging, make sure to subscribe to Dr. James Carter Health and turn on notifications so you don't miss upcoming videos. I'll see you in the next one.